Hey everyone, welcome back. I figured for my first video of the year we could commemorate the opening of the 118th Congress. It also helps that I just finished getting over a particularly nasty cold, so if my voice sounds a little bit off, that's why. Anyway, in this video I wanted to discuss both houses of Congress, what they've been up to recently, and what I think we can expect from them over the next 2 years. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's begin with the House of Representatives, which made history yesterday by failing to elect a Speaker of the House. Despite 3 attempts, no one was able to reach the 218 vote majority required to become Speaker of the House. There were 19 to 20 Republicans, depending on which ballot you look at, who refused to back Republican Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy in his bid for the speakership, causing the votes to fail. Now, this vote failing means that no other House business can be conducted because the Speaker of the House is required to swear in all of the new members of Congress and actually open the 118th Congress in the House. So if no one can become a Speaker, then the House of Representatives can conduct no other business. It just needs to repeatedly conduct these votes for Speaker until somebody wins. And these 19 to 20 Republicans have a wide variety of reasons for why they don't want Kevin McCarthy to be Speaker, but at the end of the day, it's kind of irrelevant what their reasons are. They are very steadfast in their resistance to Kevin McCarthy, and it doesn't look like they're going to change their position anytime soon, creating this massive impasse which is really resulting in a stall of the entire legislative process. And I think that this is going to be emblematic of what we're going to expect from Republican legislators in the House over the next 2 years. We're going to see a small, very extreme majority stall any progress that the majority wants to make. Excuse me. There are a lot of very serious legislators in the Republican Party, especially in the House, who want to get things done. Steve Scalise has proposed a number of bills that he wants to bring forward right at the beginning, and we will discuss those in our next video. But they have finally, post the election, put forward a legislative agenda. But I'm afraid that this small, extreme right-wing minority that is more interested in publicity than policy-making is going to keep butting into the process and making it really, really hard for the Speaker of the House, whoever it may be, to govern their caucus and keep things moving. Republicans have a very, very small majority in the House of only 4 seats, so they really can't afford any defections. And when the defectors are so stubborn and strong-willed, as we've seen in this speaker's contest, there's very little that I think any speaker is going to be able to do to corral these rogue congressmen. Now, the obvious answer here is bipartisanship. It would be easy enough for a Republican speaker to reach across the aisle and find a few moderate Democrats here and there to replace the votes of the most extreme members of his caucus and find a majority to pass certain pieces of legislation. However, this is unlikely to happen because it's in the political interest of neither party to actually find any compromise at this stage. For Republicans, it's a matter of appearance. If any speaker was to actually try and negotiate in good faith and create compromise with the Democratic Party, they would almost instantly be labeled as a rhino, as not a real Republican, and have all kinds of other names thrown at them by the far right, and that would easily hurt them in a primary challenge. And we've seen this multiple times in the 2022 primaries. If you're not conservative enough, there will always be someone farther to the right who will come along and challenge you in a primary. And they do win in the primaries. Less so in the general election, but they do win the primaries. So any Republican speaker and more moderate members of the conference who would otherwise like to build compromise don't really have any incentive to, because it could easily cost them their seat. Likewise, House Democrats have a vested interest in letting House Republicans fail to legislate. When a party achieves the majority in either house, the expectation is that they're going to unify and use that majority in order to pass bills that can then become laws and have an impact on the voters' lives. Now, if you can't elect a Speaker of the House, there's really not a good chance that you're going to be able to pass any major legislation either. And Democrats are kind of okay with that. As long as it's not a must-pass bill like a major budget or raising the debt ceiling or something else like that, they're probably just going to let Republicans fail, because then the argument they can make in 2024 is, look, you guys gave Republicans control of the House in 2022, and what did they accomplish? Nothing. They couldn't even decide who was going to lead their party in the House. They couldn't elect a speaker, let alone pass any real laws. So they can't fulfill any of the promises that they made to you. Give us power back, and we'll show you that we can govern, we can get things done, and, even if you disagree with us, we think the results will convince you that we've got ideas worth hearing. And that's going to be a very strong political argument to independent and swing voters. Excuse me. And I think that by strategically letting Republicans fail to accomplish anything, Democrats really can enhance their 2024 argument. So I don't know that we're going to see a ton of bipartisanship in the House unless it's absolutely necessary to pass critical pieces of legislation. Now let's turn our attention to the Senate, where things have been surprisingly bipartisan recently. On the tail end of the 117th Congress, some Senate Republicans joined with the Democrats in order to pass some major funding packages, as well as protections for gay and interracial marriage. Now, these are generally things that Senate Republicans are against, so why the change? I think there are two main reasons. Number one, they wanted an insurance policy against any chaos that might happen in the House. The Republicans in the Senate have some very astute political minds among them, especially Mitch McConnell. And he looked at the incoming House majority and said, ooh, that's not going to work well. I've seen this show before, see John Boehner and Paul Ryan. We better get this done before there's a government shutdown. Because, frankly, it's terrible for all Republicans if the first thing that happens when Republicans take the majority in the House is that there's a government shutdown because, much like with the Speaker's election, a small minority of House Republicans stall any funding bill and force the government into a shutdown. It's not a good look. People want the government open and functioning, and so if that's the first thing that's going to happen in the new Congress, it's a bad look for Republicans. It's a good argument for Democrats in 2024. So best to just knock this out before anything happens. And, you can always say to the voters, well, we had to do this, we were forced, we didn't like it, and you can always complain about what's in the bill. That's politics for you. But the other thing that I think Senate Republicans are looking at is their electoral opportunities. They're looking at 2024 and seeing that there are a lot more Democratic seats up for re-election than Republican seats. So they want to win. And they're very critically looking at what happened in the last election. They know where the flaws are. They know their party looked too chaotic, looked like it wasn't ready to govern, looked like it was infringing on people's individual rights, especially after the Roe v. Wade overturn. So how do they correct for that? Well, it's simple. Show you can govern. Show you can be bipartisan by signing on to these major spending bills that are must-pass pieces of legislation, as well as providing some protections to established LGBTQ and other important rights, especially in this case the rights to protect gay marriage. It's not everything, but hey, every little bit helps, and if it can help swing a few moderate or independent voters into the Republican camp by saying, hey, we were afraid that they would be stripping away these individual rights, but no, look, we voted to protect these rights, we understand that they're important, even if maybe we don't agree with them as a religious concept, we understand that there is a separation between church and state. And that's going to be a good argument to make to these moderate voters and help them maybe retake the majority in the Senate come 2024. They also know that, again, if this whole thing gets held up in the House of Representatives under the new, very chaotic Republican majority, and let's say the Supreme Court does overturn the right to gay marriage, now they're at the whole Roe v. Wade overturn again. They know how bad that was. They do not need that happening again to them. So, they see an opportunity. They want to get things done and show that they can play nice with others. And it's really the same with Senate Democrats. They're only having control of two different parts of the U.S. government that they need to pass laws. They have the Senate, they have the presidency, and they don't have the House. So, if they have the ability to show that they're working with House Republicans, pass bills that can overcome the filibuster, and then send it to the House, where then God knows what's going to happen, their 2024 argument is, look, we passed bills, we worked with Republicans to pass bills. And then the crazy, extreme right-wing people in the House failed to pass anything, and that's not our fault. And Joe Biden as well can kind of wash his hands of the matter and say, nothing I could have done. I tried to negotiate. There were those hardliners that we could never reach. We couldn't come to a deal. Unfortunate. But give us control in 2024 of the House again. Give me back the presidency. Keep us in control of the Senate. And we've shown that we can govern, that we can get things done for the most part. Give us that final link back, and we'll get things back on track. And so I think both groups in the Senate see a strong electoral argument from getting things done and actually passing things. So I think that that's going to be the dominant tone of the Senate over 2 years. We're going to see a lot more bipartisanship, a lot more cooperation, and I think a lot more moderate position taking, just because that's what voters responded well to in 2024. And I think that that's what both parties want to capture in order to make sure that they have the best chance at getting the majority in the next election cycle. To sum things up, here are my expectations for the 118th Congress. On the House side, let's just say that this is going to be a wild ride. Given the dysfunction that we've already seen from the Republican majority in their failure to elect a speaker day one, I don't think we can expect too much legislating to get done in the House. I think we're going to see a lot of this constant infighting between the more moderate and more extreme wings of the Republican Party. And I think it's going to be very important to watch, because whichever of these factions is able to really exercise power over the other is going to be very important in determining the future of Republican House politics. If the more moderate wing is able to tame and suppress the more extreme wing, they might be able to slowly push them back to the fringe where they were originally, and help provide a better governing majority to push them forward into more continuous elected power. However, if the extreme wing is able to gum up the works, be really obstructionist, and prevent them from accomplishing anything at all, I think this could really hurt the Republican House majority going forward and cause it to disappear, possibly permanently, if people believe that they can't trust Republicans to actually govern. On the Senate side, I think we're going to continue to see a lot of bipartisanship. We're going to see those Senate Republicans trying to strike strategic deals in order to set themselves up for the best campaign possible in 2024, when they have a good chance of seizing electoral power, as they just have more opportunities. Meanwhile, Democrats are going to try and provide the best image of themselves, governing, legislating properly, getting things passed over the filibuster, in order to present that argument to the American people that, yes, we can govern and get things done, as long as we don't have this crazy Republican majority in the House. And I think that them working together is actually going to help broadly. Maybe not over the next 2 years as much, but going forward, it is going to hopefully improve the quality of American politics and American government overall, and hopefully can lead us towards a better path where the government actually functions for once, which would be a novelty. Think about it. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more of my content, subscribe to the channel and make sure to hit the bell icon so that you get notified whenever I post new videos. If you want to support me on my other social media platforms, all of the links you need will be in the video description below. If you have any questions about this video or another topic that you'd like me to discuss, leave me a comment and I'll do my best to get you an answer. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.